Son, where'd you find this?
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
The flow insane, take my spot, so the range. Shoot my shot, perfect aim. 3rd degree, that perfect flame. Ain't no sleep, that's the game. Oh, so southern, that's the slang. When they see me, that's the main. Chasing checks and fly like planes. Big old stick, I bought a cane. Flick my wrist and bought the ring. I'm so boss, we're not the same. Paid the cost and kept the change. Now I'm walking Hall of Fame. And I reside in the cloud. Grand wishes with these bitches. Taking pictures with the crowd, and I'm out.
Yo. What up? Happy Friday, good people, peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. It's good to be here. I hope all is well. I hope y'all staying hydrated. I hope you got home safe. If you're on a road, please have patience. So not that big of a deal. You're going to get home. We got to be safe out here on this street. You know how ignorant these people are. So do me a solid. Everybody got a destination they're trying to get to. Please don't be reckless out here. Is that too much to ask? Shout outs to our poets, writers, content creators, authors, painters, all the in-betweens. You know I had to give you your flowers. I'm always going to do that. You see the title. We got to have a conversation. Now, if you've been here before, you already know how I get down. I don't rush through my thoughts. I got some things that I want to get off my chest with this one in particular. So, do me a solid. Like, share, let the people know that we on. Hold on. Before I get into this, I got a situation. I gotta fix this. I don't know what it is about these links that be. Hold on a second. I don't know what the hell is going on with these links. Let me send this out again, though. Hold on a minute. Um, just the one I want right here. Like the last couple days, I've either had some audio situations or it's been something with the link. Nonetheless, we're gonna make it do what it do. Try this one again. I got a clip I want to play for y'all. I don't know if y'all familiar with this story or not, but it definitely went viral. And it should piss a lot of folks off. But given the nature of YouTube and social media and how they pick and choose who they want to suppress and who they want to be seen and all that, I'm not surprised whatsoever if you ever come across this. But for my own sanity and to have documentation, I want to present something to you. What I need to do is, on a side note, because I'm waiting for Sydney to pull up. If there's any comments out there that I missed, I'm going to get to them. I need to check. Either my videos aren't being pushed, or if you're leaving messages, I'm not receiving them. So I got to dig a little deeper just to check. You know what I'm saying? So trust is not personal. It might have been a 2-month-old message. It might be a 3-week-old message. I'm going to get to it. Let's see. This is what I'm going to do. I am going to bring this up on the big screen. We're going to get this show started. I'm going to play this clip. Shout out to the young lady, man, who reported on it. Just gave her 2 cents because honestly, there's not a lot of coverage on it. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important that even though they're trying to silence it out, we can't let that happen. Sid, I see you in the studio. Hold on a minute. Good
Hello.
evening. What up? What up? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday as well. How are you doing?
I'm cool. I don't know what was going on with the link because the same one that I sent to you was the same identical one in the calendar. I don't know.
Yeah, it was weird. It said check if there's a typo, and it just said the site can't be reached. So technology.
Yeah, I think they mad because I've had a little. I've been going on a little tangent about like the data centers, and I've been speaking about some stuff that they've been doing. They probably don't like it. They overhear my conversations and they try to pay for it. You know they be listening in on it.
Mm-hmm. That's a fact.
But I got this clip I want to play. Officer got fired. it's as bad as you could imagine. I'm gonna let her get her bars off, and we'll go from there. Let me see. Let's put this over.
Cop fired for punching a black woman is now charged. Here's the recap.
I don't have a warrant. I don't have a warrant or it's in the house. What are you doing? I don't have a warrant or what's in the house.
Let go! Let go! Let go! I got her! I got her! I got her!
Difficult to watch. Shouldn't have happened. I can say that already. Based just on what we saw, I can say that. A day after being fired, enough that's too low, but at least he had to post it. Shelby Police Chief Brad Frazier said, cancer, I don't know, whatever the illness is, and someone shows up and you can't quite comport yourself the way they want you to. Should that be a sentence to this kind of bodily harm? Hyder, familiar. Hyder had a previous. He's not going to tolerate this. Shelby County's not going to tolerate this. Accountability in all ways, not just the charges and the bond that was too low. It's a symbol for more when it comes to this officer, by the way. But also because you have to hold them accountable civilly. And not just for the greater good, for Ms. Moore, who called for help. Because that's the way this society works. What Mr. Crump is saying by accountability is they are going to file a civil suit, likely seek, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but if it were me, I'd vote for millions. Millions, go for millions, Crump. Because this happens too much. In fact, after Ms. Moore gets her money, perhaps we deserve some too, because we have to keep watching this. Somebody gave this fool a uniform and didn't bother to give him the temperament, if you could do that, to match what the public expects of him. Instead, here's your badge, here's your gun, here's your uniform, and here is your green light to attack the public, not serve and protect. I mean, maybe you're serving yourself and your anger management issues. Maybe you're serving some of the public, but not Ms. Moore, not the rest of us. This person should never be an officer again. I can say that already, even before he's been adjudicated, because we just watched. We just watched. And the previous encounter gives me pause too, because it makes me say that this officer may have, perhaps should have known that there was a mental health issue going on here, even without knowing it. Cop fired for punching a black woman.
Absolutely disgusting. You would think by now we would have done something different, knowing the history and the track record. Some things would have changed on these platforms and in these infrastructures with these officers from city to city. You think things would have at least been magnified a little closer. Obviously, we haven't really gotten too much of a change. What's your initial thoughts on the video?
Well, that was very, very clear, in my opinion. Like the woman in the video said, when this goes to court, I would hope and assume that this would be a open and shut case, because I mean, she was already on the ground. I think if I remember correctly, she was even commenting how, like, do I have a warrant? Why are you doing this? So she very clearly hadn't been informed of her rights. And again, she was on the ground. It looked like another police officer was holding on to her already, and he was just going at it on her. And it was also like, it wasn't trying to subdue her type of like, sometimes if somebody is truly being unruly, you might have to like use more physical force, but he was just straight up punching her. That was not to subdue her. That was aggressive. That was an assault. I wish I could say it surprises me, but sadly, it's very clear in the society that there still is discrimination and pretty severe racism within society, within the people that are supposed to protect us, within the embedded into the system, basically. And yeah, I definitely feel like there's probably a rally cry behind the police officer of some people still trying to support him and his decision to brutally assault this woman. I'm definitely going to look into see what happened with her, just to kind of see, because you can definitely tell how severe this encounter was, based on like injuries and stuff like that. Not that should matter. Police should not be treating people like this at all. But yeah, that definitely was not within the realm of what they're supposed to be doing. As again, the speaker said, serve and protect. That was not serving, nor was it protecting.
To give you a quick recap, if you're still here, brother, Black woman gets apprehended by 2 officers, taken to the ground, and in the process, one officer begins to pummel her in her face and head as she's questioning what she has done. Does she have a warrant? Confused, has absolutely no idea what's actually happening. And eventually, right after, he gets fired. And there's just this sour taste that's left in the mouths of hundreds and hundreds of people. One thing that I feel strongly about is his partner was standing there. He saw what was going on. He knew it was obsessive or excessive, should I put it into words. And he did nothing to stop it. It was like, we see you, the body cam sees you. As a Black man, you see what's happening right in front of your face. I don't care if this is a co-worker or not. What's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. You should have and could have done more to prevent that. I've never heard of any type of training with officers, firefighters, people who operate or work in extreme situations like this. I've never seen a case where this type of response was acceptable or necessary, or it was a part of a training program. Ever. But clearly, we see what this is really about. And the fact that that man stood there and watched it, it really like disgusted me. The fact that we still have this going on right now in 2026 disgusts me. It's like the same thing I say about predators in school and school shootings. Y'all know what the problem is. So why aren't y'all doing more to limit these issues? Why do we keep circling back to this?
You brought up a good point with how one officer was standing by. I mean, the most notorious case arguably in the country, Rodney King, people were outraged because there's 17 cops that were standing by watching what was happening happen. And I don't understand. Like, from a psychological perspective, I kind of get it because there is psychology behind why people, like, when you're part of a group, you're more likely to participate in criminal or terrible behavior if everyone else around you is doing it because of how our brains work. But as a police officer, you're supposed to be trained to like act in situations like that. So I've never understood how a cop could stand by and just watch what's happening. Like, are they shocked? What is going through their mind as they're watching somebody get beaten? Like, are they just watching it, disagreeing but not doing anything? Because, like, if you're standing by condoning the behavior, that's already awful. But then if you're also standing by seeing what happens, knowing that it's awful, but then you still aren't doing anything, like, what does that say about you as an officer? Like, how are we supposed to trust that you're going to be able to unbiased help people in your job when it really matters? Because police officers, people who are like paramedics and firefighters, like all these people that are in these high stake careers, dangerous careers, they should be able to handle things under pressure. And if even they are like gobsmacked watching somebody brutalize an innocent person, or like a person that is using action that like vastly outweighs what's necessary, it says something about the whole department. And it says here that he was immediately fired. This police officer that did the beating was only 22. So part of me is inclined to think that he's just young and inexperienced. But I also wonder, like, they removed him immediately. Is the department doing this because they're avoiding lawsuits, or because they genuinely aren't standing behind this man's behavior? Because I think that's one of the problems with organizational stuff, especially ones that are motivated more by like money and funding and stuff like that, and would get in trouble for the actions of the people that they trained and put into place. I always wonder how genuine their action is, and if they care about the woman or if they care more about the negative publicity. They said that they they opened an investigation into him, the State Bureau of Investigation, and he's been dismissed. So he is no longer working. But again, I genuinely wonder how much of an impact that actually has, because I've heard multiple cases where police that had been let go for brutal behavior ended up getting a job somewhere else in a similar position and then committed an act again. In this particular case, he was striking her in the face, and according to this article, which was posted on Monday, she potentially had a broken nose and a busted lip. But hitting someone in the head is extremely dangerous. People underestimate how much it takes to cause brain damage and brain bleeds. Like it doesn't actually take as much as you'd think. And the fact that he was targeting her in the head, to me, he's a danger to the public. And so this person should not be allowed to work in any department anywhere again, because clearly he has no control over his emotions and his actions. And he feels it's okay for him to brutally assault somebody just because, and I quote, she grabbed and ripped his uniform. She fled her residence on foot and resisted arrest. And yeah, that was his complaint, is that she grabbed and ripped his uniform. And so you're going to punch her repeatedly in the head. This person should never be employed in law enforcement again, ever.
I'm not really too clear on how many jobs should be open to having him on their staff. And it was something that you had said. I'm trying to recall it. His age being a factor in his character. He might not be seasoned, but I think it would have been even more dangerous if he was older doing this. See, at his age, it's clear that they failed him. Like, where did he sign up? And what was the process to get him that badge and that gun? He's doing that at 22. Just think about it for a second. He's young and reckless, but you got older officers out here that's been getting away with hanging people and all types of stuff, and they all blame it on suicide. So he's a young, dumb one versus us worried about the older, seasoned ones who just have been getting away with it for X amount of years. Some of that stuff will probably never come out in this lifetime. Now, as far as him being reprimanded, I don't know. If I'm the family, I'm suing them anyway. Like, you getting him off the cool. You move swift. It's not really like you could have denied it anyway because it was right there in our face. But all right, you don't get no brownie points for fire, But even with that, that's not enough for me at all. I want something for damages, emotional damages on top of that. Furthermore, her running away justified you pummeling her face. I'm sorry, was this a pro wrestler that we was watching? Was this a boxer? Was this a 2+ 100-pound man that we was looking at that had you in such a disarray that you had to use that type of force? You didn't even use a taser. So there's no excuse for it. None. And I question the department. Now, I don't think you can predict what type of human being the person is automatically. Can you just tell if it's going to be a racist person that's on your job, can you automatically tell this person is going to go around being a renegade, beating the hell out of people just because they don't like the color of their skin? Maybe, maybe not, but I don't know. His partner was black. So like I'm like I'd be curious about stuff like that. You as a black man watching this, did you not know he was like that? Or do you know he's like that and you were okay with it before? How long has he been on the job? How long has he been patrolling the streets with you? What else has been going on before this that we ain't seen or heard about? That's what I'm curious about as well. But nah, the lawsuit has to come, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. That was disturbing, heartbreaking, disgusting. It really pissed me off. I get tired of seeing it. And just like she said, every time we turn on the news or turn on the TV, is always 4 or 5 things that you see typically. This is usually one of them in that 5. So my thing is, all right, what are y'all doing about this? What are you doing to stop it or to prevent it? This isn't the first time. This isn't the second. This isn't the third. This isn't the fourth. What are we doing, people?
You bring up a good point about his age as well, for just for a different reason. If this, I tried to find out how long he'd been a police officer, and they didn't say specifically, but they did say he had been working there for a very short period of time. I don't know if it's the same in every state, but if I remember correctly, you have to be 18 to become a police officer. So at the very most, he'd been working 4 years. But we're kind of lucky that he was such a freshie, because going out, because tenure cops, I don't know if that's the official term for it. I know just for teachers, but a like long-term cop is notoriously hard to fire. There's all sorts of protections and I don't want to say guarantees, but like there's a bunch of different hoops that you have to jump through to fire a police officer that has been in for a very long time. And so if this man had been in the force for, say, 10, 20 years, they might have not even fired him. They might have just put him on administrative leave or something like that. Because once somebody has been in the police force for a long period of time, they're protected by the union, and they have extremely high bars for what would allow them to be fired. And then they also have like restrictions on how and in what time frame they can be investigated and charged for misconduct. There's also like independents that participate in these firings, and they will often overturn the termination requests, and as I said, reduce them to suspensions if they find any fault with the department. And so if they said, oh, hey, the department didn't train him correctly, we're not going to fire the officer. We're just going to change how you train your officers in the future, but he's still going to keep his job. They also, like once you've been in for a certain amount of time, and you're granted career status, it prevents you from being able to be fired just because. It requires extensive documentation of past infractions and a history of behavior. Like, you have to show a pattern of negative behavior, and have multiple levels of the administrative groups to basically justify the termination. And so if you have a chief that's willing to stand up for you and be like, no, he's a good guy, that was just a day, he was just having a day, he could have easily been kept on the force, maybe switched to desk duty or something like that. But there's a whole bunch of rights that law enforcement officers are provided that give them the chance to basically get away with negative behavior, if it's a first time thing, or if it's not that bad, or if the department is seen partially responsible. There's a lot of outs for them to not actually get in trouble for the behavior that they participated in. And then additionally, it adds more of a burden of proof towards the person who was assaulted or attacked or whatever the behavior was, because now they have to actively defend themselves, not just in the eyes of the law, but against the whole department. And they're basically fighting all of these people that are involved in law enforcement that are trying to protect the rights of this police officer. And so it'd be a much higher hill to climb for anybody trying to sue an officer or a department for the behaviors of, or the actions of their officers. And this also probably varies by state. I don't know the intricacies of the laws in North Carolina, but there are some states that are notoriously difficult to get police officers in trouble for horrible behavior. So that's another reason why it's kind of good that he was such a newbie, because if he had been a seasoned professional, and I'm hesitant to say professional with behavior like that, but if you had someone who was tenured, it could have been incredibly hard for them to actually let him go. And we might not have actually seen them fire him. He might have just been switched to like light duty or whatever options they have, where they're still working for the police department. They're still getting a paycheck, but they're just not allowed to interact with the public, which to me, I think is absolutely egregious. Because if, like, let's say a teacher assaulted a student, you're not going to be like, oh, well, you're just going to be an administrative staffer now. Like, you can't work with the kids, but you'll still be in the school. Don't worry. You'll still be working with us. It's just crazy to me that they have so much protection in place to support people who might be mistreating the public. And if you think about it, police officers have a pretty substantial amount of power compared to most other jobs. Like, they have the capacity to carry weaponry in public. They have the capacity to arrest people. Of course, they should be following specific rules and protocols and stuff like that. But they could literally be like, oh, I saw that person doing this thing, so I'm going to arrest them. Like, I'm going to take them into the station. Like, they have a pretty substantial amount of power. And to have someone in long enough that they can have this power and immunity is a concoction for a really, really difficult situation for anybody that experiences maltreatment by these groups of people. Also, I was going to make a stupid comment earlier, where I'm like, reverse stereotyping. When I saw his face, I was like, why does he look like the type of cop that would actually do that? Like, that little mustache and everything. I was like, he looks like he would be the type to do that. Obviously, that's like there are police officers that look like that aren't like that. But yeah, that was one of my initial thoughts. But yeah, I just think it's crazy that someone can have so much power, but also so much immunity, especially when, like, to me, I really think that police officers should have, like, to get out into the public, working with the public, you should have to be in. No, you can't have coffee. Go downstairs. I feel like it should be like you work for the police force in a certain capacity, and then when you've shown yourself to be trustworthy, then you can rank up and actually work with the public in a smaller capacity. And then over time, as you build trust, then you can have more and more power. I guess I kind of get why they don't, but I feel like it's a bit foolhardy to have such young people automatically taken to the streets with weapons, with no supervision or limited supervision, and having the control over people.
Want the light?
I think also.
You said you want the light.
Yes, I want the light. Go out. Also, the. What was I gonna say? Everest, you are so distracting. Go outside. The dang it, what was I saying? Police officer. They need to do more understanding, like, emotional disposition. Like, how do you handle your anger? How do you handle your own actions? Like, are you able to stay calm and stay peaceful in times when you're not, because or in times when the people are not, because there are some people that just have, like, sensory things or just anger issues or other types of mental complications that make them more likely to freak out if somebody, like, pulls their hair or attacks them or gets in their face and stuff like that. And you don't want to have people in charge of law enforcement who have a quick trigger for anger. Like, if, of course, when you arrest somebody, most people aren't going to be like, all right, officer, I'm ready to go. Put me in the car. I'm cool. Like, I'm not going to fight you. Most people are going to fight tooth and nail, because who wants to be arrested? Nobody wants to be arrested. A lot of people who are arrested have already had a history with law enforcement. And so they should be expecting to be grabbed, to be hit, to have their clothes ripped, to have weapons at the, like, coming at them, and to be run away from, and all this stuff. And if they can't handle themselves in those situations, and they're going to beat somebody up because they ripped my shirt, they don't have the right disposition to be a police officer. These people need to know how to de-escalate situations rather than give in to the human nature response to defend yourself. Because law enforcement is not defending yourself. It's keeping yourself and this person safe and the public safe. And so if they're not able to use de-escalatory practices to keep themselves safe, the criminal safe, or potential criminal safe, and the rest of the public safe, they're a safety hazard, because they're going to end up getting themselves hurt, somebody else hurt, or the person they're arresting hurt. So I really think we need to do more to evaluate how these people respond in situations of stress, and additionally monitor their behavior, monitor their actions, see how they act in person, in action. And if they show signs of not being able to handle these types of situations, they should be switched to something else. They shouldn't be allowed to interact with the public if they have those types of tendencies.
One thing, well, there's a couple things that I want to point out. my final thoughts on this. One is very disturbing to me that you can pretty much use your tenure as a loophole to avoid accountability. And I'm not saying it like I don't know that it happens, because I know it's been going on forever on many different jobs, not just in the police force. Unless you benefit them and you're not a liability, you're pretty much secure. Your job is safe. You have more leniency on you than the next person. That brother was basically a asset, a throwaway. Not that it really mattered, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm still hitting your pockets. I'm coming for everything, and I want to leave a message, a serious one. But listening to them, you weighing your options. Yeah, this is probably going to cost us money, but in the long run, who's going to do more damage? Will it cost me more to keep him when I have solid, solidified officers who I know can get away with doing dirt and not get caught? Simple. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think about stuff like that. And I mean, to be completely frank, I, I don't feel like this was the first time. I think he's been down this road before. You said 18 is the age where you can become an officer. If he's been with them for 4 years, you're not going to tell me that in 4 years, if that's the time span of his career, that he has never done anything like this prior to this. And for him to have a black officer, a lot of these people, you working with people, and I know because I've done it too. We work with folks that ain't no good. They more harm and cost the company more money than it brings them in. Y'all gotta stop. You gotta say something. You can't be held liable. I'm just glad that she's still alive, that this wasn't a different type of broadcast where somebody had to have a whole funeral for someone. And I agree. Matter of fact, like if you are a ill-tempered, short-tempered person, or you get overly emotional, the smaller stuff, I'm convinced you sign up for those type of jobs so that you can take your anger out on people. Like a person who gets into boxing or gets into any type of sport. All in all, I'm glad that they dealt with him. Hopefully, whoever looks to hire him, they see how he moves, and they make it very difficult for him to get back to the workplace. Like I don't I never want to cut a person's paycheck off. But when you are putting your hands on females, when you are dishonoring the badge and doing all of this stuff, it's hard for me to really want you to win. For real. You should be behind bars and then some. So yeah, disgusting work. And considering how this man was putting his strength into them blows, she did a hell of a good job keeping her composed through all that. That's all I'm gonna say. But shout outs to you, shout outs to Levy. I appreciate you for coming through this evening, brother. See it as always. Glad to have you here. You guys enjoy your weekends. Try to stay hydrated. Don't let them trick you out of using your water. Don't. They playing with us. But y'all have a blessed one. I'm definitely going to be on tomorrow evening. If y'all in the building, tap in. You got something that you wanted to say? You got the floor.
To end this, I had a short little poem that I thought would be fitting because 1991, that was when the Rodney King riots were. And that was only the one that kind of blew up police brutality. But we've had police brutality in this country since we basically had slave catchers. The police were the earliest, slave catchers were the earliest versions of police. And that mentality is still ingrained in this nation. We're 30 years or so from the Rodney King riots, and we are still seeing police brutality. And it's really important that we don't allow this to be forgotten, that we don't turn our heads and ignore the behaviors that we are seeing, because we cannot forget that law enforcement is an extension of our government, and how they treat us is, or how our government feels about us is reflected in how the law enforcement treats us. And so I had a short little poem that I thought would fit about forgetting history. Because I think it's important to keep in mind that history is a continuation, and there isn't ends to eras. There's only a blurring out of eras, and we cannot forget where we came from, because if we forget where we came from, we're going to underestimate what the past is going to, or what the future is going to bring us. So this poem is called Erasure. Soft, blurry lines cross out reality. Pages burn to unsee the damage we have disguised as forgotten history. And that poem is our reminder that we cannot allow ourselves to forget the treatment of the past, because that behavior will project into the future. And if we continue to allow people being treated by law enforcement, by the government, by organizations to act in the way that they are, with the type of what's the word, immunity that they seem to be getting, it's just going to continue to perpetuate this violence. And so we can't keep ignoring the type of behaviors that we're seeing, because it is a signal for something much deeper. So overall, that's just my reminder to you guys that this isn't just another incident. This is a pattern. And we need to be wary and pay attention to these patterns and continue to demand changes within the law enforcement community, because right now it might just be the dark-skinned communities that they're going after, but if it's allowed to continue, it will start to extend to other groups of people, and we cannot allow this to continue being pushed under the rug. As we said at the beginning, people are still being mysteriously hung and labeled as a suicide. People are still being brutalized on the street. People are still being killed in their homes while they're sleeping in beds. Like, there are so many cases of police and other forms of law enforcement brutalizing American citizens. And it is our job as the American citizens to keep this in the news and keep the pressure on both our politicians and our law enforcement agencies to not allow that type of behavior. So keep that in mind, and keep fighting in any way that you can. Voting, public pressure, showing up at the meetings and stuff like that they have to voice opinions. If you know these people, help support them, get the information out there, talk about it on social media. Keeping it visible is one of the best things that we can do to make sure that they know we are not okay with this type of behavior. And there needs to be changes to how police officers are trained, treated, and the expectations for the treatment of people that they're interacting with. So yeah, that was just all to say, this is not an isolated incident. This is a pattern, and we need to continue to see it as a pattern. That way we can work efficiently to a better form of law enforcement that doesn't involve the brutalization of mostly innocent people. I mean, even if they are criminal, nobody ever deserves to be treated like that. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of end with that.
The flow insane, take my spot, so the range. Shoot my shot with perfect aim. 3rd degree, that perfect flame. Ain't no sleep, that's the game. Oh, so southern, that's the slang. When they see me, that's the main. Chasing checks and fly like planes. Big old stick, I bought a cane. Flick my wrist and bought the ring. I'm so boss, we're not the same. Paid the cost and kept the change. Now I'm walking Hall of Fame. And I reside in the cloud. Grand wishes,